Secretary, thank you for the interview. You are speaking to a global audience through Al Jazeera English, Al Jazeera Arabic, and our digital platforms, reaching viewers throughout the Middle East, including Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, and Iran, as well as millions of people around the world. Let me start by asking you this. Have formal talks with Iran already begun, or are you still in direct communications exploring common ground?
Are there messages and direct conversations between people in Iran and the United States, mainly through intermediaries? There have been conversations, and the president always prefers diplomacy and a negotiated outcome, and we could have done this before. Imagine an Iranian regime that, instead of spending billions of dollars supporting terrorist groups and manufacturing weapons, invested in Iran for its people, preventing water shortages and so that its economy could offer opportunities. The people of Iran are amazing people. Amazing people, very resourceful and entrepreneurial, but their regime has been the problem. Instead, they chose to spend the country's wealth supporting Hezbollah, Hamas, and Shia militias in Iraq, destabilizing Syria and sponsoring terrorism around the world, building drones and weapons to threaten their neighbors. We would welcome an Iran led by people with a different vision for the future, and if that opportunity arises, we will seize it.
What are your main demands for Iran at this specific moment in the war?
The Iranian regime must never have nuclear weapons and needs to stop sponsoring terrorism and building weapons that threaten its neighbors. These short-range missiles that have been launched have a single purpose: to attack Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, and Bahrain. That is the range of these weapons. They have thousands of them and have built many, an extraordinary number of them, not to mention their desire to have nuclear weapons to threaten and blackmail the world. This will never be allowed. It's too great a risk.
What would you consider to be Tehran's minimum concession today to end this conflict?
I think they need to take concrete steps to prove that they are not seeking nuclear weapons. If what they want is nuclear energy, there are several countries in the region that already have it or will have it by following the well-established international mechanism accepted by everyone. This system allows for the import of fuel to power the electrical grid and provide energy to their people. What they cannot have is a system that allows them to quickly turn this process into nuclear weapons. They need to stop manufacturing all these drones and missiles. We recently saw that they lied. They denied having long-range missiles, but they fired two that far exceeded the limit that their own foreign minister, just days before, said was impossible to reach. They must abandon their weapons programs and nuclear ambitions, and if they do that, Iran's future can be promising, but they must choose that path. And for 47 years they have refused to follow it.
Iran rejected Ziwa's demands and imposed conditions such as financial compensation and recognition of sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Are these demands acceptable to the Americans?
Sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz is not acceptable to us, nor to the rest of the world. No one in the world would accept that. First, it sets an incredible precedent. So nations could take international waterways and claim them. Iran could do that. Others, like China in the South China Sea. No one is going to accept that, nor should they. Now I'll be frank. Very little of the energy America depends on passes through the Strait of Hormuz. We recognize the impact of this on global markets and on our neighbors, especially the allies in the region who produce energy and need to export it to the market. Therefore, no country in the region should accept that the United States will not accept this condition. It's an illegal condition that they are demanding. That simply is not going to happen.
While the campaign by Tiwa and Israel continues, there is no clear indication that the Strait of Hormuz is safe enough to restore the flow of oil and gas to global markets. Are you considering a plan to ensure full control over the entire strait?
Well, the Strait of Hormuz will remain open. When this operation is over, it will be open one way or another. Either because Iran will comply with international law without blocking the trade route, or because a global and regional coalition with the United States will ensure it remains open. One way or another, it will be open. We have clear objectives we're trying to achieve here. Those objectives are the destruction of their air force, which has already been completed, the destruction of the Navy, which is largely done, and a significant reduction in missile launchers, which is underway. And to destroy the missile and drone factories used to attack neighbors, the Akamiswamyawa, in our regional presence. Will we achieve these objectives? Are we ahead of schedule? We will achieve them in weeks, not months. We will address the issue of the Strait of Hormuz, and it will be up to Iran to decide. If they try to block the strait, they will face real consequences, not only from the United States, but also from countries in the region and around the world.
Their regional allies in the region are under attack. Critical energy facilities are being bombed, and cities are being bombed almost daily, and they are seeking a clear path back to stability. What would your message be to them?
Well, I believe that the best way to achieve stability, considering who is in charge in Iran, is to destroy their future capability to launch missiles and drones against civilians and infrastructure. Iran has been attacking the energy infrastructure of countries that weren't even at war with them. Even so, they went after those countries, which is why they built those missiles and drones, but they attacked embassies and diplomatic headquarters, something unprecedented. Atacaram aeroportos, outro fato inédito. That's what they did, and it's a weakened Iran. This is a weaker Iran than it has been in the last 10 years. Imagine 3 or 5 years from now with more missiles and drones, what they would be doing to their neighbors and to us. It was intolerable. That's why it had to be done now. The United States will finish the job. We are working very closely with all our allies on defense issues. Unfortunately, drones and missiles manage to get through from time to time, but most of those launches are neutralized. They are shot down before reaching the target, or the destruction would be. They are strong and stable countries in the region, our allies and friends, and we will continue to be present supporting them in this attack. By the way, they are not the ones responsible. Iran targets them in retaliation, showing who we are dealing with, unfortunately.
But it seems that the Strait of Hormuz will not be your only point of concern. With the Houthis launching missiles against Israel, Bab al-Mandab and the Red Sea become issues that you will have to seriously reconsider.
Maybe. This is an ongoing issue. When they did that, the United States reacted, as did many regional allies in the past. It's the desire of the Houthis or Iran to close these international routes and create a toll road where you have to ask their permission. To use them and take your goods in or out of the market, it's unacceptable to us, and the world should find it unacceptable too. This is fundamental. I'm glad about the effort by Bahrain and the United Nations, which we support, to create a coalition that rejects this global scenario. And whether it's the Iranians on one side or the Houthis on the other, they control international waterways and block the flow of goods between nation states. We will not accept that, nor should the world.
Do you by any chance have any objection to the statement of Mushtaq al-Khamenei? To stay in power after all this is over, and for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard to continue playing the crucial role it does today?
First, we don't even know if he's in power, despite what they say. No one has heard. No one has heard of him. Everything is opaque now. It's not clear how decisions are made in Iran. But our objectives here from the beginning did not involve the leadership. Would we like to see changes? Would we like to? Do we think the people of Iran deserve better leadership than what they've gotten from the clerical regime? Absolutely. Would we be heartbroken if there were a change in leadership? Not at all. If there was something we could do to facilitate that, would we be interested in participating? Absolutely. But that was not the objective of this operation. The objective of this operation was, as the president made clear on the first night, the destruction of their air force, which we have already achieved. The destruction of the Navy, which has largely already been accomplished, and the destruction of the factories, that is, the factories that produce these weapons, to significantly reduce their missile launchers so they don't threaten their neighbors in the United States. Those were our objectives. That's what we're focused on, and that's what we're pursuing. We're well on our way to achieving it.
Are you fully aligned with the Israelis regarding the objectives and the outcome?
They have a different objective focused on the medium-range missiles in northern Iran, which are targeting them. And we coordinate and avoid conflicts with them regarding our operations. But their focus is different. We don't criticize that. These things are threats to them. Those medium-range missiles that Iran launches and that reach Israel are threats they face. They also face a threat from Hezbollah, which they are also confronting, so they have their objectives, and we avoid conflicts so there is no clash. But the president regarding the United States gave a clear mission that we are carrying out, and we will achieve our objectives in a few weeks.
Do you believe that the EU and NATO countries have betrayed Zua at this moment?
I think it was very disappointing. There's that. But will the president and our country have to reevaluate all of this after this operation is over? One of the reasons NATO is beneficial to the United States is that it guarantees us bases in case of emergencies. It allows us to station troops aircraft, and weapons in parts of the world where we normally wouldn't have bases, including much of Europe. At a time of need, Zua posed a serious risk to national security and our interests, requiring us to carry out this operation. But Spain, a NATO member that we promised to defend, ended up denying us the use of its airspace and its bases, boasting about it. And are there other countries that did the same? You wonder, what did the United States gain from this? I've always supported NATO because I believe that basing rights give us influence, flexibility, and operational capability around the world. But what if NATO only exists so we can defend Europe and then deny us access? Denying basic rights when we need them isn't a very good deal. It's hard to stay involved in this and say it's good for the United States. So all of this will have to be re-examined.
Recently, I spent some time in Europe, and what they basically say is that the US is sending mixed messages, planning to disengage, and they don't really seem willing to join NATO to move forward on the continent. That explains why we've been cautious in dealing with the Americans, especially when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz.
If someone in Europe told you that, they're being dishonest, because the United States has tens of thousands of soldiers stationed and billions in weaponry positioned throughout the region. All of that is there to defend Europe, not America, from an attack, right? Everywhere. The US is the foundation. Without them, there is no NATO. Even the alliance itself acknowledges this. If we decided tomorrow to withdraw our troops from Europe, it would be the end of NATO. So they know that. We don't withdraw troops from NATO. Anyone who says that isn't being honest, they're just playing around. In the end, it's simple. NATO is an alliance. And an alliance needs to be mutually beneficial. It can't be one-sided. We hope to resolve this. We'll deal with it later. We're focusing on this operation now.
Let's move on to another subject. I'd like to talk to you about Venezuela after the capture of President Nicolas Maduro. Could you tell us more about your plans for Venezuela in the future?
I think it's going very well. We've always said that after the operation. Our priority is to stabilize the country and avoid a civil war. We didn't want to see a systemic collapse or mass migration. You haven't seen any of those things. What you've seen is that, for the first time in many decades, Venezuela is now selling its oil at market price. The money is returned and spent to benefit the Venezuelan people. It is used to buy medical products and equipment and to cover teachers' salaries. Salaries of teachers, police officers, public employees, and also urban sanitation workers. This is a very important part. The second phase, which takes place simultaneously with stabilization, is a period of restoring the fundamentals that allow the country to prosper and grow, attracting companies back. We are now creating the kind of stability that brings big companies back. We are starting to see this happen, but you are also seeing civil life come back. Independent media can now operate. Political prisoners have been released. Political parties are forming again. People are speaking out and participating in public life. And finally, you want to see a complete transition. For Venezuela to reach its economic potential, it needs a stable democratic government that attracts investment by having laws, courts, and legitimacy. So, we are on the right track, and much of the credit goes to the interim authorities who took on this responsibility. We talk with our embassy every day. We are very optimistic about this.
Many assume that Washington will focus on Cuba as soon as the war in the Middle East is over. What decisions or policies would you like to see for a regime change?
Honestly, we don't need anything from Cuba. They are the ones who need us. I'm referring to their regime. The problem with Cuba is fundamental. And we try to explain this to anyone who is willing to listen. Their system doesn't work. The economic system is indescribable and totally dysfunctional. It's not a real system, and nothing changes without changing the government. Recently, they said Cuban Americans can now invest on the island, but invest in what? Invest in a country that has arbitrary laws, no established system of courts and justice. Who would invest in that? You also can't have economic prosperity without a minimum level of political freedom. By participating in a country's economic life, if I don't like the regulations or current rules, or if measures are imposed that harm me, I need to have the right to complain. And in that country, you can't complain or you'll be arrested. So Cuba needs to take action if it really wants to get out of the hole. In the situation they're in because of the regime, they really need to carry out serious reforms both in the government and in the economy. If they're willing, we will help them. We haven't done anything punitive against the Cuban regime. The only change is that they no longer get Venezuelan oil for free. They no longer receive subsidies. That's the only thing that has changed. These reported blackouts are not our fault. They were already happening last year because they use equipment from 1950 in the power grid without maintenance or modernization due to pure incompetence. That's why the blackouts happen.
So, my last question, if you don't mind. Do you have any clear idea of when the war will finally end in the Middle East?
The operation in Iran ends when we achieve our objectives, as I have already described. We have already destroyed their Navy and Air Force, we are systematically destroying their weapons factories, and we are also making progress towards significantly degrading their missile launchers. Once these objectives are achieved, we will have fulfilled the purpose of the operation, and this will not take months, it's a matter of weeks. I won't say exactly how many, but it's weeks, not months.